Can we do that? Can we do bulleting so many times during a session? Is it natural? Does it come natural? Or was it just for demonstration reasons? Yeah, it was like, you know, I see two things. I see three things. It was bulleting, bulleting, bulleting. Is it natural during a regular session?
Yes, it is, from what I've understood. Hi, I'm Shipra from core level cohort 361. So from what I have learned, it's good to in fact bullet throughout the conversation and not just through, say, the awareness part of the conversation, so that every time you are picking up what you are hearing and presenting back to the client, and that is what the client will eventually focus on. Because especially like in this case, the client was quite verbose. There were a lot of points that he was putting across. So what are you picking up out of all of that and presenting back to the client? And what do you want him to focus on and expand his mind on is where the bulleting helps.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Ben just placed something in the chat. Can we see ourselves? So any thoughts on that? Thank you, Shipra. That basically through the reflections, the client is able to see themselves and hear themselves too, right? I think that was one thing that was very interesting. Yeah.
Yes. So the client is the expert in the content.
And there's another thing in my mind, I wrote it down. Understanding someone's model doesn't equal agreeing with their model of the world. We have to agree with the way they are seeing things in order to understand the way they are seeing things. Seeking to understand the problem helps us to frame it in a good way, so we can help them to reflect that back to them. You know?
Resonated with me is how the coach needs to be able to separate the issue from the goal. And I mean, I'm sure every session is not as easy as Ben has made it. I mean, you really do have to hone your skills to get to that point. And I'm not sure that won't be a challenge depending on the context or the issue at hand. So how do you strike that balance between how much time do you spend helping your, I don't know if you call them clients, helping your clients to get out of the issue framing to look towards the path ahead. So nice to meet you guys. And I'm taking this opportunity to decide if I'm still going ahead to join the course. Thank you.
Oh, well, Funky, welcome. Funky, welcome here. It's really great that you join us as a guest. Really, really lovely. And I hear that you're really intrigued by that. Yeah, the issue and the goal, and how much time do you spend on the issue before you get to the goal? And I think in short, the answer is, the sooner we can get to the goal, the better. And if you are going to sign up for the training, you will learn all about that. But welcome here. It's great to have you here.
Well, on the presenting issue, but invited the clients to express what he wants to talk about, which was understanding the thought process, and this is what the scaling was applied to. So it's kind of a meta process. That's what I noticed.
That's very clear. Thank you, Sergey.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Louise Goodman, based in Italy. And I was thinking that what the coach did at the beginning, he helped the client to go from a focused, a convergent thinking to more of a divergent thinking, because the bulletin at the beginning with the elements of the story was a belief, doubt, different things. He managed to put different things on the table. Okay, that is what I noticed. And so then to have the client to go on a game frame, okay, and then the other, and then so he got to the focus. But then the other very interesting thing that I noticed, it was not easy, I think, for the coach to really, help the client to diverge his thinking. And so I think the scaling was really very creative, because I've never heard, using other numbers, negative and 0.1. And I was wondering why the coach decided to do that. And my feeling is, I don't know, the reasoning, I mean, could be to make it to out of the box. I mean, not the usual thing, As a matter of fact, it worked very well, because it's there that I saw really then the coachee, getting new ideas about
within the framework, within the process. So it's really important to pay attention to how we frame our inquiries. And I think that was so beautifully demonstrated today, the power in framing our inquiries properly, appropriately, and purposefully. And I'm glad to share to learn that, and hope that we all pick that from here as well.
Yes, definitely. So, Irene, and you could see that the coach really used the syntaxes in a simple way. You, the verb, and then the subject matter, emphasizing how the client was relating to the story in the conversation. So it was more about the experience of the client as the client related to the story as the story unfolded. And that's what we do. We support the client in the moment as the client.
Amazing. So, yeah, there's so many big ideas if I were to put together what you have just said. But maybe I'm wondering if we can extract a learning from this uncovering stage that Colum is talking about. He was saying how the coach is always in holder of the process, knowing what he's working with. And I'm curious, what is it that you're able to notice about the scaling part? Maybe something that stood out for you today. The way we teach it is simple, right? We teach you 3 ways, and we say, number 1, you do this. Number 2, you do this. Number 3, you do this. What is it that you noticed though today?
So I personally think that with the scaling, by going about with -3 and -1, why isn't it -3? Why isn't it -1? The coach really made the client reflective about the scaling where he is.
Gonna learn about that, but then it's not like what we learn, like just minus something very close to the point that the client bring in, but very far, so that there will be a contrast, a very clear contrast on what is happening right now and what is clear about for you if it's not there yet. Yeah, and from that, the coach bring the client into the understanding about come from -3 to -1 and then hold there. And okay, now we talk about 3.1, move up to 3.2. And it's make the client clearer on awareness about what am I looking at, what I understand about myself, and what is the gap. And I'm really impressed when the last questions that evoked awareness about the client himself, about what is the useful thing, what is the takeaway, what is the celebrate that he would like to do after the session. And it's all there after the clarity part. The lesson is there, the learning is there. Yeah, that's what I got from this session. Just
wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, Chow. And I see that Mark would love to respond to that.
There's something that I really appreciate about the coach during the scaling. And I advise all of the core students in the room to pay attention to this. There was a time when the coach asked for, well, how would you go if you went up 0.1? And the client thought about it. And the client said, well, I'm taking actions like this coaching conversation. And the coach had asked for a question about the client's understanding, but the client had offered action. And so the coach kind of pointed that out and said, well, that's the actions you're taking, but I'm really interested in the understanding.
Yes.
Because actions and understanding are not the same. And the coach knew what his intention was by asking that question. It was to solicit understanding. So he acknowledged the action points and then just redirected the client's mind back to understanding, and he noticed the difference. And that's a really valuable thing, which often the client will do. They'll offer you some actions they're taking and not the understanding. So I really appreciate the way the coach caught that straight away.
So that was very interesting.
Yeah, Luis, you want to build on that? What would you like to see
happen is more projected towards a future thinking. Okay, and what would you like to have happen is more to focus on the moment of the session. So yesterday I learned, this difference, and today the coach used the future kind of outlooking. What would you like to see happen? And then there he got the expression of desire, I think, and he put them on the table, and he asked the coachee to choose which one he would like to work on, right?
Quite obvious, because the client had an IT background, so his mind is wired to think in numbers. So it was very easy for the client to understand the concept of a scale of numbers. What shocked the client was when Ben asked, how about -3? What? Wasn't it about from 1 to 10? Can we go minus? So yeah, I guess that was the point when the client really stopped and thought about the question.
Wonderful, thank you. Alina, may I ask if you are in our training as well? Are you doing the core training with us? Yes.
Yes.
So have you covered this part already? Have you covered this part of this?
I'm from the 1st of February intake, so we're just...
So it's coming. It's
coming. Yeah,
it's coming. Wonderful. Yeah, so you have an idea already. Hold on to it, but I love your observation of what you're able to notice about the way of thinking of the client and how that shifts. Yeah. Katie, finally, let's hear your voice.
I think there's just for me that in the way the framing was done and how it worked out, I think I was just really interested around how you get given the gain frame to bypass the negative frame. And throughout the conversation, there's like little red herrings. And so many times it's like, oh, I would really want to dig into that, follow that path. And it was so interesting to see Ben like not go down there and then explain at the end that it's basically a red herring and don't go there. And I was just like, but
way to learn that, how do you be the coach and not do coaching? Because when you are being the coach, you are not involved in the story. You are stepping out and you're constantly trying to get the client out of that frame of mind and focusing their attention on what is positive and possible. And I thought that was very, very beautifully done.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, I think one thing that stood out for me from there was the way it challenged the client to think deeper, to become more reflective, because now that you're at this, if I'm presenting this very low level to you, reflect. How much have you accomplished? What have you done already? And celebrate the work that you have done, and that made the client to reflect even more on their